Despite their lack of cap space, the Toronto Raptors have made their intentions very clear on how they want to solve their depth issues for the upcoming season, and their plan includes signing a potential huge steal on a two-way contract. But what else is Masai Ujiri scheming for the summer? Let's get into it. Welcome everybody to Amateur Hour Sports. This is the YouTube channel that's dedicated to Toronto Raptors content in videos, live streams, and shorts. If you like what you see from today's video, then make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and you can help me on my road to 15,000 subscribers. We're getting very, very close to that monumental milestone, and you can help us reach it. But today, we're going to be talking about some new signings that the Raptors have made and what we can gather from these new signings. The Raptors have finished out their two-way spots for the upcoming season. The NBA has actually expanded the two-way spots, if you were unaware, to 3 two-way spots instead of last year's 2 two-way spots. And the Raptors also have a player returning to the team, and all of them are going to be vying for the same sort of role for the upcoming season. It was no secret that last year the Toronto Raptors had a pretty talented starting five, especially after the trade deadline. The team found success. They had a winning record after the trade deadline. They made a push for the playoffs. They ultimately lost in the play-in tournament. We don't need to rehash everything that went on in that game, but they did improve, and the starting five was talented, but it felt like the team ran out of gas, and it felt like there wasn't enough depth to supplement the players within that team. Now, part of the problem is the depth may still be an issue, and the starting five will not be the same because Fred VanVleet decided to sign with the Houston Rockets, but the Toronto Raptors are doing their best to address the point guard depth issues with their team, and really the only way they can do that at the moment is through these two-way contracts or these very, very cheap deals for players. But they have put their names in a lot of different hats to try and come out lucky and try and come out with a top player who can actually affect the team for the upcoming season. First of all, I'm sure you've heard the news that the Raptors have signed Javon Freeman-Liberty to a two-way contract after he had an outstanding summer league with the Chicago Bulls. Now, I don't need to tell you everything you need to know about Javon Freeman-Liberty because I'm sure you've heard it. He was signed on Friday. There have been lots of news, lots of videos talking about the player, and I unfortunately had knee surgery on Thursday, so I've been out of commission for a while here. But if you haven't heard Javon Freeman-Liberty, what you need to know about the player is that, well, he consistently improved throughout his 4-year college career, ended up signing as an undrafted free agent with the Chicago Bulls, and played last season mostly with the Windy City Bulls in the G League. And with those Windy City Bulls, he actually had some impressive numbers over there, averaging above 17 points per game on some very, very nice efficiency, shooting just under 50% from the field and a little bit under 40% shooting from three. That coupled with being a relatively great rebounder for his size, about 6'4", 6'5" in the guard position, possesses a lot of size, possesses a lot of scoring ability, and also possesses a lot of shooting. Like, these three-point numbers came on nearly 6 3-point attempts per game, at least 5 3-point attempts per game for the player. So these numbers definitely are impressive on the offensive end, and that is certainly what we saw in Summer League as well. Javon Freeman-Liberty was on the All-Summer League second team after what he displayed with the Chicago Bulls, and the fact that he's now on the Raptors is quite surprising here. Bulls fans are definitely upset with the fact that Freeman-Liberty has decided to sign with a different team, or they're more so upset at their own team for not giving the player a contract. And apparently there were a few teams that wanted to give this player a contract, but ultimately he decided to choose the Raptors. And on top of all these great offensive traits with the player, he is showing some very nice upside on the defensive end. Good steal numbers, 1.4 steals per game in the G League regular season. The stats that I pulled, by the way, were strictly from the regular season, not the Showcase Cup, so take it for what it is. But Javon Freeman-Liberty, great player to add in on a two-way contract, and definitely has an ability potentially to affect the Raptors at an NBA level, if not very effectively at the G League level. Now, a couple of other players who are returning to the team that are interesting to note. Ron Harper Jr. returns on a two-way contract. I was mostly underwhelmed with what he displayed in Summer League, unlike Freeman-Liberty. Like, players you really want to sign on these two-way contracts, like, they have to look too good for Summer League, and for Ron Harper Jr., who has already spent a year playing with the Raptors 905 and actually displayed some pretty good numbers here, 16.7 points per game, very efficient scoring, about 50% from the field, and somebody who also takes a ton of threes and hits them efficiently. Not quite as efficiently as Javon Freeman-Liberty, but still quite efficient at just under 37% for Ron Harper Jr. and some really nice numbers as well in the rebounding and assist categories. This was a player who I expected to take a jump and look, again, too good for Summer League, but that just wasn't the case for the player. So I'm more than willing to give him another shot on this two-way contract, but want to see a little bit more for the player. That's not really what my concern is for this video. I'm mostly concerned about Jeff Dowtin returning to the team and also the acquisition at the NBA draft as an undrafted free agent, Markquis Nowell. Jeff Dowtin is returning to the team, this time not on a two-way contract. He's going to be on the training camp roster with a partial guarantee, but gets a big guarantee, a sizable guarantee for Jeff Dowtin if he can make the NBA roster. So, what are these intentions for the Raptors in the offseason? Well, last season, part of the issue was likely, I think it's been an issue for a couple of years now, overplaying Fred VanVleet because there just wasn't a suitable backup guard to play. And last season, when there was maybe a suitable backup guard to get a few minutes here and there, Jeff Dowtin was only allowed to dress for 50 games. He dressed for 50 games and wasn't able to play in the last few regular season games, and maybe most importantly, wasn't allowed to play in the play-in tournament game against the Chicago Bulls, where maybe he could have made a little bit of a difference. But the Raptors, there wasn't a lot of cap space in the offseason, and from what they did have in the cap space, well, they did use their mid-level exception to sign Dennis Schroeder, a nice sign to have as a point guard off the bench, and use their biannual exception to sign Jalen McDaniels. Now, Jalen McDaniels, not the point guard, not the shooter that this team needed, but for a biannual exception, probably a pretty good player for the value. So all the Raptors have left now are these two-way contracts and these veteran minimum deals, which they haven't used the vet minimum deals yet, but all they have are these very small contracts to try and bring point guards into this team to supplement the depth. So the Raptors have made their intentions extremely clear on how they want to address the point guard depth, and the Raptors essentially for the offseason, for training camp, are looking to find a bunch of different possible high upside hidden gems here to see what they have and see if one of them can really take a step up and bring them to the NBA level. This kind of showcases to me that even though I expect Malachi Flynn's game to cater a little bit more to the way Darko Rajakovic coaches compared to Nick Nurse. Malachi Flynn is a very pick-and-roll centric player, very schematically driven player. Nick Nurse is the exact opposite in the way that he coaches. So having a coach like Darko Rajakovic who is going to cater to these schemes is going to help him, but there still seems to be that there isn't a great amount of confidence in the players. So as far as the intentions of the Raptors here, number one, their intentions are to find a point guard, find a guard to help out with the depth of this team, and they're going to try with a bunch of different players, with Markquis Nowell, who we signed on a two-way contract, as I said, with Jeff Dowtin, with Javon Freeman-Liberty. We're going to try and find a point guard to help with the depth of this team, and the intention is that Malachi Flynn is not a player who we deem trustworthy enough to rely on to be able to step up into that third point guard position. Now, my thought process here is that Scottie Barnes is going to be the starting point guard for this team. There's been some conversations that Darko wants to start Dennis Schroeder, so even if Dennis Schroeder starts, like even more reason that we need some backup guards. But I think having Scottie Barnes in the point guard position just to start games makes sense with the current personnel that we have with the team. Dennis Schroeder makes a great backup point guard, but also having that third guard is going to be really nice to maybe even play in sets with Scottie Barnes. Like what we've seen from Javon Freeman-Liberty, like a great cutter, a great shooter, maybe not the most purest of point guards, maybe he can play as an off guard, but can he play in tandem with a two-guard system, two big guards with Javon Freeman-Liberty? You need to shorten that to JFL or something. Javon Freeman-Liberty next to Scottie Barnes, to maybe both of them can use each other to take the ball handling load off themselves, because they're not the most purest of ball handling point guards, but can do a job in those certain positions. So the intentions are clear here. We are going to try a number of point guards in Malachi Flynn, in Markquis Nowell, in Javon Freeman-Liberty, and as well in to see just what we can get out of these players and try and help with the depth issues of the team. Now, with it seeming like they're not confident in Malachi Flynn, I'm once again upset that at the start of last season, they gave Malachi Flynn his guarantee for the upcoming season. He had not shown anything in his NBA career to warrant getting that guarantee for the upcoming season, worth, I believe it is just above $4 million, but alas, they gave it to him anyway, so we'll see exactly what we get from the player. People want to talk about asset retention. Asset retention only really makes sense when the player is actually, or the asset is actually worth something, which Malachi Flynn is worth nothing more than just salary to add on to a trade, especially now with his contract expiring. But ultimately, I kind of like what we have here. Maybe I would have preferred if we had addressed the point guard situation a little bit better than we did, but hey, I like Markquis Nowell's game, and I think he has potential NBA upside. I like Javon Freeman-Liberty's game, and I think he has potential NBA upside. And Jeff Dowtin showed last season that he can certainly do a job for the team, can certainly do a job for the organization to try and be that third point guard that the team really has been missing since the days of Delon Wright and the days of Corey Joseph. Would love to have that additional point guard depth in our bag to cover injuries and just to cover day-by-day consistency in games. And I think that we have a number of point guards here, maybe less or so Malachi Flynn, but the other three, I really have a good degree of confidence that one of these guys can step up and give us some proper rotational NBA minutes, and that is going to do a world of help for this team who has desperately lacked in point guard depth, and maybe after losing Fred VanVleet is lacking it even more than ever. So what do you make of these four players? Who do you think is most likely to break through as a regular rotation players out of Jeff Dowtin, Markquis Nowell, JFL, and Malachi Flynn? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that is it for me for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Drop a like if you did enjoy, and please make sure you are subscribed to Amateur Hour Sports for more content just like this all throughout the offseason, helping me on my road to 15,000 subs, and wish me well recovering from my knee surgery. I'll see you again very soon for another video.